Imagine an army so fierce, so disciplined, that European soldiers wrote home in disbelief. An army made up entirely of women. In West Africa's kingdom of Dahomey, these warriors were called the Agojie, the king's wives in name, but in reality, the kingdom's deadliest weapon. They were the elite, the special forces, the frontline shock troops. Their speed, skill with muskets and machetes, and unwavering loyalty made them legendary. While much of the world told women what they couldn't do, Dahomey showed what women could: lead, fight, and become the most feared military unit in the region. Their reputation spread far and wide, whispered in rival kingdoms and recorded by stunned foreign visitors. The very idea of an all-female army was revolutionary. These women weren't just handed weapons, they were trained from youth, pushed to their limits, and sworn to celibacy, dedicating their lives to the king and kingdom. They were professional soldiers, a living testament that strength and bravery have no gender. Their existence shattered stereotypes and forced outsiders to rethink what was possible. The Agojie were more than fighters. They were a force of nature, thousands of women choosing discipline and danger over tradition. They served as bodyguards, warriors, and leaders, celebrated and feared, crucial to Dahomey's rise and fall. Their story is not just African history, it's world history. Nearly forgotten, their legacy is now being rediscovered, reminding us that the past is always more surprising than we think. The Agojie's story is one of courage, complexity, and contradiction. Let's dive into the world of the Dahomey Amazons. To understand the Agojie, you need to know their home, the Kingdom of Dahomey, in what's now Benin. From the 1600s to 1894, Dahomey was a powerful militaristic state with a complex government and booming economy. It rose by conquering neighbors, thriving on clever politics, a strong military, and tragically, the Atlantic slave trade. Dahomey's unique political structure included powerful women, female prime ministers, treasurers, and more, giving women real influence. This environment made an all-female army possible. Dahomey's economy depended on warfare and the slave trade, capturing people from rival groups and selling them to Europeans for guns and goods. The kingdom's strength and brutality were two sides of the same coin. It was a center of art, culture, and political innovation, but also a key player in a system that caused immense suffering. The Agojie were both protectors and enforcers of this complex kingdom. They fought for Dahomey's glory and survival, which was tied directly to this violent economy. Understanding this duality is essential to understanding the Agojie. Dahomey's history doesn't offer easy heroes. It's a story of pride and pain. The Agojie's origins trace back to the 17th century, likely starting as royal bodyguards or elite elephant hunters. Over time, as Dahomey's wars claimed many male soldiers, the king expanded the Agojie into a full-fledged army. By the 1800s, they numbered in the thousands, making up a third of Dahomey's military. This was no temporary militia. These were professional, state-sponsored soldiers with their own command, uniforms, and regiments. Some were archers, others riflewomen, all considered the bravest and most disciplined. Women joined as volunteers, captives, or were offered by their families. Once recruited, their old lives ended. They became symbolic wives of the king, sworn to celibacy and the art of war. The Agojie's rise was a path to power and status for women in Dahomey. Life as an Agojie was brutal and transformative. Recruits endured harsh training, running through thorns, scaling walls, mastering weapons, and surviving relentless drills. Only the toughest survived. As symbolic wives of the king, they lived in the palace, forbidden from personal relationships, forging a powerful sisterhood. Their presence commanded respect. Men had to clear the streets as they passed, and touching an Agojie meant death. They held real authority, sometimes serving in government and military councils. Becoming an Agojie meant escaping traditional roles and gaining independence and prestige. In battle, their ferocity was legendary. European accounts describe them charging into enemy fire, seemingly fearless. Their goal: defeat enemies and capture prisoners, fueling Dahomey's economy and rituals. They were skilled in brutal combat, often returning with enemy heads as trophies. The Agojie's discipline and brutality made them one of West Africa's most feared forces for over 2 centuries. Their lives were defined by loyalty, power, and sacrifice. The Agojie's story is inseparable from the Atlantic slave trade. Dahomey's wealth came from capturing and selling other Africans, and the Agojie led these brutal raids. Their military skill was used to enslave thousands, fueling a horrific system. This is the central contradiction: women who gained power by taking others' freedom. The guns they used, the kingdom's wealth, and their campaigns were all tied to slavery. For Dahomey, the slave trade was survival. For the Agojie, raiding was duty. Their legacy is complicated, symbols of empowerment, but also agents of oppression. Power can corrupt anyone, and history rarely offers simple heroes or villains. The Agojie story is written in both glory and blood. In 2022, the Agojie story reached the world through the film The Woman King, starring Viola Davis. The movie celebrated Black female strength and introduced millions to the Dahomey Amazons. It portrayed the Agojie as heroic freedom fighters, battling the Oyo Empire and turning against the slave trade. But history was changed for Hollywood. The real King Gezo supported the slave trade, and the Agojie fought to continue it. Characters like Naniska and Nawi are fictional, created to anchor the story emotionally. The film condenses years of history into a dramatic plot, simplifying conflicts and motivations. The filmmakers aim to inspire, not to create a documentary. By framing the Agojie as anti-slavery heroes, the story became more uplifting for modern audiences. The movie sparked curiosity, leading many to seek out the real, more complex history. In that sense, it served as a powerful gateway to the past. The true story is even more fascinating and challenging than fiction. The Agojie fought bravely against the French in the late 1800s, but Dahomey was eventually conquered and colonized. The Agojie were disbanded, their story fading into memory, until now. Today, they're rediscovered as symbols of female strength and African pride, challenging stereotypes of passive African women. Their image inspires women worldwide to break boundaries. But their legacy is not simple. Can heroism exist when it's built on the suffering of others? The Agojie force us to confront the complexity of power. Those who fight for their own freedom can also be oppressors. History is rarely a clean story of good versus evil. The Agojie are both inspiration and warning. We can celebrate their strength and sisterhood, but must remember the dark side of their story. They are not comic book heroes, but real complex figures. Their story invites us to question what it means to be strong, to be free, and what price is paid for power. The conversation about the Agojie and about history continues.